Super exciting to be, part of something that already has so much history and bring something new to it.
I'm Kristen Maldonado from Pop Culture Planet. It's so great to meet you guys. How are you doing today?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Good.
I'm great. I'm great. You all look so beautiful. And I'm
Thank
excited to talk with you about this show. I wanted to start with you, Savannah. I feel like you've gone from Gossip Girl to Cruel Intentions, which is like two really formative sort of like projects for young people. What
you.
has it been like sort of stepping into those iconic worlds?
Yeah, I mean it's been amazing. Gossip Girl changed my life. It was my first project, so that in and of itself was just a blessing. But yeah, sometimes, it can be a little intimidating just because you want to get it right, given the fact
Mm.
that, both of these stories have been told and are loved in their original state. So I think, sometimes you are nervous about the response you're going to get, but overall it's just really exciting because, especially Cruel Intentions
Mhm.
is really a new chapter and a reimagining, a new take on the lore while keeping the same tone
Mhm.
and energy and, scandalous vibes and all of
Mhm.
that. But yeah, it's super exciting to be, part of something that already has so much history and bring something new to it.
Absolutely. And I love how you guys take something that we know and really update it and modernize it, especially going from like, the high school stories to a college story set in Greek life. And I wanted to ask you, Brooke, your character, has a bit of an agenda when it comes to why she wants to take down Greek life. And I was wondering if you could talk
Yeah.
about that.
I think Beatrice on her own is like she's very much a fighter. She really stands up for, I think, what she believes in. And where that came from, I think is a lot of different areas. I think she has been burned by these people in the past. And
Hmm.
so it's, who's to say that it's not a little bit of revenge? It's not a little bit of, pushback against a system that kind of rejected her. So I think
Hmm.
viewers will really relate to, feeling like the outsider or feeling rejected. I think they'll relate to Beatrice in that. And I do think she pushes for what she believes in. She wouldn't go through all of these obstacles with all of these people and still try to push her way in,
Hmm.
even though she keeps getting pushed back down. If she
Sacrificing
didn't, yeah, I mean, she's
reputation.
sacrificing her reputation the whole time. There's
Yeah.
reputations everywhere in this show, and I think Beatrice is like on the line of how much do I push to go against that, and within that, if you're dealing with your reputation, there's a lot of vulnerability that
Hmm.
comes with it. And so I wanted to make sure, she had that fight, she had that push, but she's not just one dimensional. I wanted her to feel like, you see how she takes it out on herself
Hmm.
and what she does to kind of try to remotivate herself to get back up. And I think I think that's a really fun character to play because it's dynamic and it's really human.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All these characters have such interesting dynamics. And for you, Sarah, I wanted to ask because your dynamic is really interesting. You're playing opposite someone with Sean Patrick Thomas, who was in the original Cruel Intentions. And so I was wondering, like, how that sort of like impacted what you were doing.
That's a good question. I want to know too.
I mean, yeah, working with Sean was incredible, and I felt so lucky to be, working with such a talented, vetted actor who, was in the original. So he kind of has this legend status
Hmm.
for us, for sure. And he was just such a joy to work with. Like, he made me feel so comfortable. I think in terms of like reinterpreting the story, like we said, it is just like a completely new interpretation. So I feel like he was just so excited to be finding like the nuances and the freshness and I feel like we kind of found that together. So I don't think it was something where he was like, "Oh, this is how it was," like back in my day. No, I think we both just like were playing and finding like this new dynamic, which is so much more about like the intellectualism
Hmm.
and we're both like nerds and we were geeking out about history and fascism and
Mhm.
that's kind of like the way that we flirt. And so it was definitely, I think it's just its own thing and we had a lot of fun with that.
I'm curious for you guys, how familiar were you with the original Cruel Intentions before taking on this role?
I was familiar with the story and the many remakings of it. I had never seen the 1999 Cruel
He
Intentions.
wasn't alive.
I
He
wasn't
was
alive.
non-existent.
Correct, when it came out.
Yeah.
That
He hadn't
is,
been thought of yet.
yeah. But after we wrapped, I watched it, and I can understand its sexy appeal.
Yeah. I watched it way too soon. I was a youth, and I think one of my mate's older sisters chucked it on for us in the living room one day, and yeah, I think it didn't have the intended effect because I was a child and didn't know what was going on. But later on, I remember rewatching it. I think on a date, and it was obvious why it was a cult classic, and then sort of to be a part of it now in 2024 is kind of surreal.
I feel like there's a lot of really cool, like new additions to this show that really sort of take what was there and just flip it on its head. And so I was wondering for you, John, Blaze is really a man on a mission.
Oh
He's
yeah.
really out for himself. What can you tell us about his journey this season?
You see immediately the sharp nature to him. He's a shark in the water. And then I'd like to think as you progress, you start seeing that the shark has feelings and emotions and thoughts and justifications as to why he does what he does. But that would be my ideal plan. But then some people might watch it and just be like, wow, that guy's not a great guy. And I would understand. Yeah.
And for you, Kobe, there's an innocence I feel like to Scott that I think can kind of go a little bit against the grain of, the stereotypes of a classic fraternity guy. What can you tell us about that?
I think Scott's very sheltered, and I think he hasn't been exposed to a lot of hard times, which makes him in part very naive, but also very unscathed, which is what makes him so innocent and sensitive and kind. He sees the good in everybody because nobody, I don't think, has done him very wrong yet.
John. No, I'd love to hear about the dynamic between you guys as well, because there's a lot of ups and downs in your relationship this season. And so I was wondering how you guys, built your bond off screen and how that kind of impacted what you guys were able to do on screen.
John is this professional veteran. He's talented. He's so generous. He's been doing this for 15 years. I mean, in so many ways, he was not only a very good friend to me, but also this mentor and big brother. He tucked me under his wing, and I had the easiest job in the world acting alongside and across from him, and I'm continued to be inspired. He's the best. It was easy.
I love that.
Yeah. He's overselling me
I'm not. I'm almost
massively.
underselling it. I could go on.
I couldn't love Kobe Clark more if I tried. I love him more than my own mother, and I love my mother. He's a good person. He's an incredible actor, and I think he's going to be in this business for a long, long time. And he's a future star, so you'll be interviewing him a lot.
Oh, I love it. That's so sweet, you guys. Do you have a memorable moment on set, whether it's something that, you had a great time with, something that was maybe more challenging?
Being in Toronto while it was cold. I've brought this up so much. I'm so sorry. It was so cold. It was so cold, and I am a big baby, so that was my experience as far as the challenges went. Getting out of bed, knowing that frost was going to hit you at 6 a.m. Yeah, but would happily go back and do it again.
There's one scene in particular with Scott and Blaze towards the end of the show, and it was John and I's last day working together, and it was the last time our two characters would see each other for the foreseeable future. And I just think we both, with kind of the rest of the show behind us, had this opportunity to like really hit this scene out of the park. And I think mutually I mean, of John's performance, it's one of my favorite watching it. And when I did it with him, it was the most memorable.
I wanted to know, what was it about Cruel Intentions that made this the right project for you guys to bring to life on the TV screen for us?
I think it's just ruthless, sexy fun that we were missing in the world and on screen, and so we just wanted to, make the show that we wanted to watch.
And I mean, there are so many things that you can pull from for this. There's obviously the book, there's the movies, there's a musical. Were there things that you were thinking about in terms of like what you wanted to pull from and also ways that you wanted to make it sort of like original to, new audiences?
I think we wanted to keep the taboo. I think we wanted to keep the humor. I think we wanted to keep the sexiness. I think we wanted to keep the irreverence and the exclusivity of the world in each of those iterations. Those are all very exclusive, privileged worlds, and with people behaving very badly for their entertainment. And I think we wanted to keep all of that, and we wanted to create a TV show, which it hasn't been, and with characters that certainly pay homage to all of those previous iterations, but have to sustain over many, many episodes, and so have different inner lives and different histories and different desires and different dynamics between them. And I think we both thought we could just have a lot more fun with it and go new places while still loving all of those previous, movies and plays and literature.
Musicals.
I didn't see the musical.
And I think what's really fun is like you're kind of aging them up a little bit more to be in college and tackle that Greek life. And I feel like that's something that a lot of people, whether you're in Greek life or not, you sort of like know about that world. There's like, Bama Rush and things that you can follow online. And, it's so interesting to see like those inner workings. So what was it about sort of like that area for you guys that you were like, oh, I think this would be really interesting to like not just go into the college world, but kind of go into that very like exclusive sorority and fraternity world?
It served all of our purposes very well as a backdrop for all of the, manipulations and power plays and all of that stuff, and naturally served the story in that way. And it's kind of our version of the royal court in Dangerous Liaisons, the Upper East Side in Cruel Intentions, and now we get to see this new rarefied world with all these, as you mentioned, rites and rituals and traditions, and a place where, reputation really matters, and the social hierarchy is, feels life and death to them. So,
And most people aren't allowed in.
that too.
You really get to see that with Beatrice as well.
Beatrice.
We love Beatrice. We love Beatrice.
Let her in.
And I thought it was really cool also to see that you guys cast Sean Patrick Thomas in a role that's kind of similar to what he plays in the original film. And I was wondering how that kind of came about in terms of getting him into this series.
I mean, it's obviously not the exact same role. He's much more intellectual and a much more of a full character. And when we heard, our casting director, Lauren Gray, talk to us about it, because we wouldn't even have considered that he would be willing to do it. And when she brought it up, I think both Phoebe and I were so excited about the idea, because we obviously love him in the movie, but we also just love him as an actor. And to be able to have that real relationship being formed between him and Cece in this, that's intellectual and taboo and all kinds of internal conflict for both of them, I think was really, really exciting for us.
And I'd love to just hear in general, like how this cast came together. I mean, you have a lot of young rising stars coming in. I know, like, even just watching, Sarah Catherine Hook, like from First Kill to this, completely different. I'm like, whoa, like the range that she has. So I'd love to hear how the cast kind of came together.
It was a long and arduous process, but it became clear quite quickly when we had the right people reading for the right roles. And I think the cast is just completely amazing and have blown us away since their first reads, really.
Yeah, and I think, the other thing we did was we really liked people, and then we did a lot of chemistry our instincts were always right, but we had enough film to prove it to everyone. And I think those dynamics are the way that they interacted with each other and were real actors and could listen and hear and respond to each other in these different ways, both comedically as well as with the kind of chemistry and sexual tension, and saying one thing and having every single thing be subtext. I think those are hard things to find in an actor, and we have it in every single one of them. And it's really exciting. I just think they'll all just break through and be amazing.
Well, I want to thank you both so much for your time. Congratulations. I'm excited for everyone to see this.
Yay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Consider subscribing if you like this video and get even more entertainment news at popcultureplanet.net. See ya!